Before we start the episode proper, we're going to do one of our classic cold opens because we needed to do a quick check-in on the blood machine, the big machine that gets blood and controls our lives.
It's been working overtime. It's kind of a bummer. This last week has kind of worn something away because you've been on Twitter, Tom, so you know that it's mostly just like Facebook posts of people being like, COVID isn't real. And then the next screenshot is like, person who just said that is dead because of COVID.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that forever.
There is endless schadenfreude gleeful posts that are like right-wing radio host Scream Rageson, who said that COVID was a fake hoax, dies of COVID, and like there was a tweet. This is one in particular just killed me. It's pretty old now, but it's from Occupy Democrats, that heinous fucking lib organization that uses the Occupy term from Occupy Wall Street, a anti-capitalist uprising that they did everything in their power to ridicule and belittle. They said, breaking news, the Capitol Police officially exonerates the officer who rightfully shot and killed Republican hero Ashley Babbitt. Retweet if you think this is great news.
Like, the only catharsis that is available to us is the other people dying now, right? That's all we have.
It's straight up blood, friends, blood. The machine shines red. Howl, enjoy. Like, fuck this.
We've completely accepted that death is all around us, and the thing that makes people accept this is that when it happens based on your rules, you're super jazzed. Like, that's how we deal with this.
Yeah. When someone stupid dies, when someone takes the horse medicine and shits out their entire intestine and then gets COVID and their lungs explode, that's funny to us. It's the good blood now, and it's moral. There could never be less blood. Let's not even think about that. That just can't happen. So we might as well enjoy when the evil blood is spilled. Ha 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 ha.
And to be clear, it's not like, oh, won't someone think of the the people who are taking the horse medicine? Look, it is objectively funny that there's like a horse on the box. Sometimes it's a pig. I've seen two different things. But at the same time, like, I don't feel relief when I see that Facebook post that said, oh, I guess heaven needed him more. You know, like, I don't feel good.
Joe, you had a great image, a Zeppelin-based image that sort of summed up this feeling. Could you share that with the class?
Yeah, it just feels like there's a Zeppelin always flying above us, and then on a regular basis, bodies drop from it and splat on the ground. And every corpse has a big novelty sweater that says, I will never fall off the Zeppelin. So it's like, in individual cases, you can see the irony in that, right?
And it is quite funny when you like flap them over and you're like, that's the thing you just did do. But I don't know.
Like, now I have to step over all these bodies to get to work, and it bums me out.
Yeah, like one time one of them fell right near me and I got splattered with blood and I had to go home and change. It ruined my day. Like, it wasn't funny to me then.
Yeah. Also, there's, to continue the metaphor further, there's a bunch of concerned adult sons and daughters that are like, Dad, stop doing backflips by the railing. And they're like, fuck you, lib. And then they do it, and then it happens. And it's like, to be in that sort of situation, like as a son or daughter, as funny and powerful as the irony is, that also sucks. And that's just more blood.
Yeah, and you and we have to see a Facebook post from, like, you know, Scream Rageson Jr. being like, I guess heaven needed him more. My dad, he was a brave fighter up until the end. He never stopped doing backflips. Fuck.
Yeah, it sucks. And also the people that try to dissuade him are left thinking, like, is there something I could have said to make this not happen? And probably not, but look, you're going to think that when it's your dad or your mom.
Yeah. You know what I'm really grateful for is that my dad and mom don't think this shit.
I am also very thankful. I mean, they're both
so
vaccinated,
bad.
so if they're doing the horse thing too, it's because they're trying to get a booster.
It's like, yeah, no, I'm taking it, but like, I know what you're thinking. Don't worry. I'm not one of those Fox News crazies. I just was eating a lot of raw horse meat, and I got a bunch of their worms, and I'm using it for the intended purpose. Don't worry.
Yeah, and I'm truly thankful that I don't have to negotiate reality like with my parents like that. That is one thing I'm thankful for, because it's probably a bummer.
Yeah. Man, the machine will have blood. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Anime Sickos. It's the podcast for geniuses and the only podcast where we take a look at the four pillars of modern misery: anime, gaming, posting, and jobs. I'm Tom, an anime sicko.
I am Joe, an anime sicko.
We threatened a while ago to do an episode about bosses with phases, and here we are to make our threats real.
You have to make good on threats, otherwise they're empty.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're here to talk about one of the things. And now, I hate to ever say that we were wrong, because we never are. But I guess we could have been more right when we were making our perfect games criticism rubric, because we didn't say that a good game needs to have bosses with phases. But I think that it's pretty clear that, like, it does. Like, you need to, like, a game that has bosses that are just the same the whole way through. That's just like...
I think the binary is this. You either have a game that has bosses with phases, or you have no fucking bosses.
Yeah, there it is. Yes, you either have no bosses or you have phases. Because when your boss has a phase, it fucking kicks ass.
Mm-hmm. But it should make sense. Like, SimCity shouldn't have a phased boss.
True. Yeah, you don't want to, like, have Godzilla show up and you have to, like, manage the tanks. Actually, holy moly. Godzilla could turn into, like, a different phase halfway through. Actually, Joe, I don't know if I'm with you there. I think I've talked myself out of it. Every game should have bosses with phases, and if it doesn't make sense, change your game so it does.
The really bad Matthew Broderick Godzilla movie had distinct phases because he... Remember? Because Godzilla shits out the little guys.
Ooh, I don't like... Well, I think of this. Shin Godzilla, the one that fucking Anno from Evangelion directed... Godzilla has phases. He starts off as a wiggly guy, and then he gets into big mode later. That was pretty good. Joe, no, okay. We're not talking about that shit. We're talking about video games. Video game bosses with phases. I want to start off with, I think, what might be the best example of a boss with phases. And just like, man, what a beautiful case study in the genre. I'm talking about the Guardian Ape from Sekiro. I think I've been unclear on this show that I love Sekiro. It's my favorite FromSoft game. Is where you play as a little ninja man and hit guys with your sword. It kicks ass. The Guardian Ape is one of the top two bosses I've ever played. The other of the top two is also from Sekiro and also has phases. But the Guardian Ape is just like, when you see it all play out, you can really feel like the glee that the designers felt when they figured out what they were gonna do, and like when they were doing it. Like, there were times during the Sicko play where we were just like so fucking like hyped up with glee. Like, I can't believe we're doing this. Like, we're really making this dumb idea be real.
This is
feel
the
that
thing we said is in Parasite, when there's the cake that says congratulations on getting over your trauma cake.
Yeah,
and it's just like the big, like, that's, you can tell it's the big grin right at you.
Yeah, when you see, like, that cake, the, like, nothing ever is gonna happen bad to you again, and then, like, the fucking blood-drenched man with this evil smile just, like, fucking rises above it, and is like, and you're like, oh, fuck, this rules. Yeah, it's that. So, okay, Joe, I'm gonna walk you through the Sekiro Ape experience. So up until this point, you've been fighting human guys with swords. Just like you. You're a human guy with a sword. There's some huge guys who got, like, fed special goop to make them huge, and they're, like, bruisers. But, you know, they're human guys who just got big, you know? You fight one Nordic man, a man from Sweden, who, as the game accurately depicts him as just a savage monster. Nothing like the civilized people of Japan. Just a howling ape man who is twice as tall as anybody.
Blonde, right? Blonde?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
So you've been fighting humans the whole time. And you're going down to this canyon because you need to get a special flower that grows there that is fed by special waters. But the pool where that water grows has an ape who lives there too. And he drank the water, and the ape is huge. It's a giant Donkey Kong, Joe. It's the biggest fucking ape you've ever seen.
I'm a big fan of Animal Gets Powers, like the really stupid rat episode of JoJo where they're snipers.
Yes.
It's kind of like that. I like that.
The rats are just chilling. They're just having a good time doing what they've always done, except now they're way better at it.
Yeah, because the stand brings out their true want, which is to reduce everything to flesh cubes.
Yeah, so they can chew on them, save them for later. Anyway, so you beat this ape, Joe. This ape kicks ass. It's a dope boss. It's very big. It's very strong. It has big sweeping attacks that can kick your ass. And the sort of moves that you've been relying on this entire time to fight human guys with swords don't really work. So it's really shaking up the gameplay formula and forces you to think and play in a new way. It's very interesting, very difficult, and it's a big move set for the ape with a lot of fun thematic moves that give character to this boss. Makes it feel like a real thing. Now, when you finally do enough damage to it and you've broken its posture, you get to do the death blow, which is a thing from Sekiro. And on bosses, the death blow isn't just like a stab. It's like this big cinematic execution that's like pre-animated in a specific way to look badass. And this whole time, there's been like an enormous sword sticking into the shoulder of this ape. Presumably someone tried to kill the ape before and couldn't do it. But now you're going to do it. So you stab the ape in the death blow and you jump up onto his back and you grab the big sword and you wrench it further and further into its neck until finally you cut its entire head clean off and the sword sort of flings off into the distance and stabs into the ground next to the headless ape's body. And then this is where you can tell that the designers are having the time of their lives. Because every time you kill a boss, and this is in all of the Dark Souls games and Bloodborne, whenever you kill a boss, there's a big, like, doosh sound effect, and words appear on the screen that show that you just did something badass. Like, in fucking Bloodborne, it's like, prey slaughtered, and in Sekiro, it's shinobi execution. And, like, man, when you see shinobi execution, you feel like such a badass. You're like, I did it. I did the shinobi execution. This kicks ass. And then, like, 10 seconds pass, and then the stupidest thing ever happens, Joe. And this, like, is a meme. Like, this became, like, the meme of Sekiro, and rightly so. Because no other time in Dark Souls history is the fucking text on screen after killing a boss a lie, but it is now. Because the fucking headless ape gets up and picks the sword up and is like, Phase 2, now I have a sword. Eat shit, idiot.
That's good. I had internally, because I haven't played Sekiro, I was like, the ape is either going to get up, like Hellsing style, or the other thing that would be funny is that if a second ape showed up and picked up the sword.
Okay, Joe, I'm gonna tell you some stuff. One, the ape does get up, and the part of what makes the second phase so fun, in addition to like, oh my god, I didn't know there'd be a second phase, fuck, there is because this is the introduction to the part of the lore about the immortal centipedes. They're centipedes that can go inside you and make you immortal and immune from death. And when you cut the fucking ape's head off, what's happening is the centipede is taking full control of the ape's body. And you can tell because the way the ape walks is very different now. It's like constantly wiggling like a centipede would and not using its arms to sort of do a Donkey Kong walk like an ape would. and it's using the fucking sword all the time, and it's badass. And you can yank this fucking centipede out of the neck hole with your spear prosthetic and like do extra damage. It's fucking fun. But here's the even wilder, technically phase 3 that you never thought would happen. So you kill finally the fucking ape phase 2, and then like 20 minutes later, you're going into another boss arena, and it's like, oh, there's a boss coming up, and who should be there but the fucking headless ape again? And you're like, all right, I'm used to this. I can beat it now. And so the fight begins. You see that you have to death blow the headless ape twice, and you're like, that's fine. I can do that. You do it the first time, and then, Joe, the headless ape holds its head up, and it yells. And yeah, no, a second ape shows up. It hears the yell and is like, I got you, homie.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Good. Yes.
So that's the boss. Bosses with phases, dude.
That's 3 boss fights in 1 boss fight.
Exactly.
So Chrono Trigger has some good boss phases, and this is really because of the Toriyama influence, because Toriyama is obviously the king of phases.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good at drawing them. I think this is where I got like addicted to the idea of guys transforming.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, is watching Frieza change 8 times, but like Lavos is just a bunch of phases. Like it's a big crab on the outside, and then inside you fight a big fetus,
mm-hmm.
and then inside, after you beat the fetus, you have to fight an alien guy with his 2 floating like speakers, and
what?
Yeah, like
DJ.
He's like this weird like bipedal Lavos thing, and he's got like these 2 floating pods,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, like he keeps breaking down and getting smaller, and it's just great because the whole game there's just been this larger than a mountain freak that crashes into the earth and yells and shoots lasers. And what's really important is inside there's a little guy.
I love the little guy. You gotta have a little guy.
I also think this is where I realized early on that like one of the coolest things that you can do if you have transformations, and this is a Toriyama move, is to make the biggest and strongest form a little dude is so cool.
Yeah, like Frieza, you mentioned Frieza. Frieza's final form is like a little baby, a little guy,
like 4'11".
Because you're thinking to yourself like, hey, I know how fighting works. If you are more big and huge, that means you more strong and you more good at it. And then when you see the guy go like, I'm going to become even more powerful, and he turns smaller, you're like, holy shit, this guy's on a level of martial arts I could never have comprehended. I never would have guessed. He must know incredible techniques.
Yeah, it kicks ass. It's even funnier because the third form of Frieza is like so bulky and stupid. It's the Xenomorph one where he can't even put his arms down.
Yeah, who's in the fucking manga for like a chapter and a half.
Yeah, even in the anime, which is drawn out, like, I think there's like 3 episodes of it. And it sucks because it's like Piccolo is being cool, so naturally that can't continue.
Yeah, no, that can't happen. Fuck. Joe, here's another great boss with phases. I mean, it's not as good as the Guardian Apes. I'm not going to go as in-depth. But it is from a FromSoft game. It's from Dark Souls 3. Sister Frida and Father Ariandel from the DLC. These kick ass, because you're in this fucking weird painting world where, like, you have to enter the realm through a painting, but the painting's all fucked up so that you only have, like, a little scrap of the corner, and you go through that, and the world's all gross and, like, yucky. And you meet very early on Sister Frida, who's like, please do not go further into our world and fuck it up. It's very important that it stays. And you get to the final area where there's this huge freak who's like the size of a mountain, who's chained to a huge chair, and in front of him is a big golden bowl that he bleeds into. He will he will flail himself like the fucking Da Vinci Code guy, fill the bowl with blood, and he just sits there and is sort of a gibbering giant man full of blood. And this is Father Ariandel. You go here, and Sister Frida is like, I can't believe you came here. I'm gonna have to fight you now. And so you have a fight with her. She's a pretty good boss for Dark Souls standards. She's human sized. She has a scythe. She has like teleportation and invisibility spells. You have to figure out how to work around them. She has very fast attacks. How you gonna deflect those, Joe? It's tough. Eventually, you realize as you're fighting, it's like, well, I'm in this big boss arena, and way over there is a huge guy. I wonder when he's gonna wake up. And so you kill Sister Frida, the health bar goes all the way down, and that's when phase 2 begins. And the huge guy gets up, and he notices that she dies, and he does a horrible yell, and he breaks his chains, except he doesn't break the chain that's like his seatbelt. So this is the best part. He's still in the chair, and when he moves, he like picks up his big golden bowl, stretches out, knocks it on the ground, and he like drags his butt forward like a cat trying to scratch his
like
ass.
He's stuck in a toilet.
He's stuck in a toilet. He's a toilet man, and he tries to hit you with his big toilet bowl. And meanwhile, Sister Frida's back. She's brought back to life by his blood. It's so dope.
So I have a point of contention here. It's like, yes, what you're describing is phases, but you're describing two different entities.
Okay.
Because, like, there's a lot of games where you fight a boss and then they, like, just get into a vehicle for the second phase. Like, the newest Yakuza game, that's the JRPG, you fight, a thug, and then, like, you kick his ass and he just gets into a wrecking ball machine and he says condolences to the recently squished. Getting into a vehicle isn't that, like, exciting. Because I can get into a car. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, that doesn't count. That's not a real phase.
Yeah.
The only way that works is if you destroy the vehicle, and then the guy is just like, little do you know, the vehicle actually made me worse at fighting. I'm stronger as a little guy. Then you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, this vehicle kept my powers in check, but now I can finally go sicko mode.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I just realized... Chrono Trigger also has a dope instance of the strongest guy is a little dude, and it's not Lavos too. Remember you have to fight Sickos, which is like the guy at the end of time who's like, I'll teach you magic, and as you get stronger, he gets bigger and stronger, and you fight him, and like you get more rewards the stronger he is when you beat him.
Yeah, he's like a challenge boss. Like he's not evil. He's just like the sparring partner, right?
Yeah. He teaches you magic. He's like, we're buddies.
Okay. Cool.
His most powerful form is like a blue hamburger. It's a NU is this enemy, but I cannot stress how stupid and unthreatening this thing looks. And
hell yeah.
And how powerful he is. Like, you have this thing that's always like doing a 100-yard stare. It never looks like it had a thought in its life. And then it just nukes you.
So, Joe, we've discussed how it doesn't count when the phase is just getting into a vehicle. Although I do want to make a exception for Frankie from Earthbound, because his vehicle is a little wooden tank he built to help with his local gang activity. So I think that counts.
Yeah.
But I want to say that even when a boss has like a lazy phase, like not when they aren't as dramatic and cool as what we've been talking about, like that's still something good. Because like what I thought of first when I thought of this, I realized later like this doesn't even have phases. I was just Nightmare from Metroid Fusion, which is not even a really good boss either. It has like a gravity gimmick, but like who cares? It's not hard to get around it, and you just kind of shoot it until it dies. But it's this weird thing that shows up, and it's like a robot with big weird arms, and it has this like mask, like this metal mask over its face that sort of is just like two circles and a straight line. It looks like this emotionless whatever. And in Metroid Fusion, the phases basically are like palette swaps. Like the more a boss gets hit, the redder it becomes, and that's sort of a fun thing because you're like, I wonder how. Like there can't be that many more shades of red than this, but like there always are more than you think. But
that happens in beat 'em ups all the time, like the old 16-bit ones. You're like, surely you cannot blink faster and red than you currently are.
Yeah. But the thing about Nightmare is that instead of turning red, just when you do enough damage to it, the fucking robo face breaks off, and you see that it's not a robot. There's a really goopy face in it, and it's very disgusting. And the more damage you do, the more fucked up the face becomes, and like the flesh starts like falling off and like sagging past the little face square, and like its eyes fall out. It's fucked. And I really like, and I was a kid playing Metroid Fusion, I'm like, this is a cinema. This is what it's all about, baby.
Metroid Fusion is the 2D one, right?
Yeah, it's the Game Boy Advance one.
Okay, yeah, that was like the last time they gave a shit about the formula, right?
Yeah, well, until Dread, who knows? That might be good.
Yeah. There's also another type of phase we haven't discussed. I think the Resident Evil games are really good at this, which is you fight a scientist who then says fuck it and injects himself with a bunch of shit to become a gross freak.
So, okay, I've never played Resident Evil games, but I've seen a lot of them being played. People, my roommates have played them. I've seen a lot of footage online. And I have I have a personal problem with this, because every time it happens, like every time a scientist is like, fuck this, and like a bunch of tentacles, like his head explodes off and like a million tentacles pull out of his neck and like become his new head, I have like like two thoughts going through my mind. One is like, where did all that meat come from? Like, were those tentacles just like hiding in your torso? If so, like, were you hurting? Like, did that hurt you? And two, just like, what's the end game here? Like, say you kill me, and like, what are you gonna do tomorrow? Like, there's one game where a guy like puts like goop in himself, and he like turns into like a whale monster, like an actual huge whale that's like in the water and like breaching and like shooting goop at the guy, and you have to shoot the whale when it's breaching, and it's just like what, like, how are you gonna watch TV, man?
If you die in a boss fight in one of those, they should show the monster trying to use a computer.
yeah, like
the scientist continues his research.
Like, how are you going to continue research? Like, you don't have hands, dude.
Yeah. That's why Wesker is, like, the coolest one, but also kind of cheating. He, like, injects himself with all of the stuff, but instead of becoming a monster, he's just, like, really fast and strong. I mean, like, maybe his face looks a little weird, but he's not a freak.
Yeah, every other scientist who goopifies themselves has to look like a real fool. Like, when they, like, want to go eat a burger and they're just like, I don't remember. Like, my brain is used to having 2 arms, and now I have, like, 50 tentacles, and I'm having a really difficult time figuring out how to control my body, and I can't eat this burger. And also, I forgot where my mouth is. Also, I hurt a lot. And then Wesker's just like, I know how to eat a burger the normal way, bitch. And it's like, fuck.
Yeah, but he does it at 100 miles an hour.
Oh, my God.
I guess now that we're saying this, it also makes me realize that, like, defeating a recently transformed super scientist who's a freak isn't even that impressive, because he doesn't know how to use the body.
Yeah.
So as you continue to unload rocket launcher rounds into him with muscle memory that you've had this entire game, he has to learn how to walk.
Yeah. Oh, I don't like that. I mean, I like bosses with phases. But this is just another reason why whenever that happens in Resident Evil, I'm just like, this is opening up so many questions that I know this game is not going to answer. Just like logistically, this is fucked. Joe, this is something that just occurred to me. I mean, I guess I didn't think that this game is a game that had it, but technically there is a boss with phases in Slay the Spire, one of our favorite games. And I realized it because it's very similar to the Guardian Ape, the Awakened one of the 3 final bosses that you can get.
Which is a dog with a knife in it.
Yeah. So you think that its gimmick is that whenever you play a power, which are very powerful cards that give you a passive ability that stays active for the entire fight, it gains strength. So you are disincentivized from playing your powers, which makes
the defect fucked.
Yeah, the defect is fucked. It basically means that, like, if you're getting a bunch of awesome powers in Act 1 and 2, you have to be like, maybe I should put the brakes on because maybe I'll have to fight the Awakened one. But the real thing is that when you kill it, it goes to sleep for a turn, and then it comes back stronger with a full health bar, just like the Guardian Ape. And both of these, I keep on seeing people being like, terrible game design. It was impossible for me to know. It took everything I could just to beat the first phase. And then there's another phase. This game is so cruel. Fuck this game. I can't believe it would do this to me. I don't understand this criticism because, one, the maximum, like the hard cap for number of times the game can cruelly trick you in this way is 1. Yeah, it happened once, and like now you know. And 2, like that kicks, like to me it kicks ass when the game just lied to me and tricked me in like a significant way that was not telegraphed at all. It's like, fuck, I got surprised in a way that shook me out of my reverie. Like that kicks ass to me.
A game that did this in a very interesting way recently is look, it's another bullshit 2D roguelike. Just bear with me for a moment. There's this game called Skull the Hero Slayer. It's a game where you're a skeleton, so out of the gate that kicks ass.
But what is the currency in this game?
It's bones.
The bones are their money. Okay.
Yeah, bones are their money. I'm not doing just like a stupid joke because you have to trade bones to the Spider Queen to evolve your skulls. It's a real thing.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense to me.
And the premise is like the skeleton is like you are the monsters, then the humans are just awful and empire and just killing everyone. So you fight like the hero of light.
I love that.
Yeah, you fight the hero of light, and you fight him like in normal mode, and then the second phase is like he's all holy and like paladin mode. He's just got like laser holiness and all that shit. And then you beat him, and then you fall through the ground, and there's a third phase. And now normally, like every phase is harder, right? Like it just is. The third phase is not as hard as the second one because he's just like fucked up and bleeding, and you just got to finish the job. Which is not to say it's like a walk in the park. It's not like brain dead easy, but it's just different. It was a nice little surprise.
Yeah. Fuck. That's pretty good. I like. It's just like I love the trope where like the classic RPG hero is also in the game, but it's like a villainous presence. It's just so fucking. It's just like, oh my god. What a twist! I'm a little guy. Fuck. I gotta briefly talk about Ishin from Sekiro. I mentioned the 2 best bosses. One of them was the Guardian Ape. The second one's Ishin. I gotta talk about this. This motherfucker technically has 4 phases. You want to hear about this 4-phased boss?
This is Frieza.
Yeah. So, it's at the end of the game. It's the final boss. Yeah, we're gonna fucking close out the entire game with the hardest challenge it has to offer. And the first thing you come up on is Genichiro Ashina. He is the grandson of Ishin, who was like the great conquering warlord. And Genichiro is the idiot fail son. He's a dope who can't do anything right. You fought him earlier on as like a boss, and a lot of people say that like Genichiro is when I had to quit the game. It was too hard. I could not beat him no matter what I did. He's just a fucking guy who has a sword and he has arrows. He has a bow that he can pull out if you go too far away from him and shoot you with a fucking arrow. And he just has his sword moves. Yeah, you know how it is. So you start off fighting Genichiro again, and he has exactly the same moveset that he did before. Except now he's a baby bitch who you're supposed to beat in like 30 seconds without taking any damage. At this point in the game, that's not an unreasonable ask. So already you feel like King Pimp taking out this guy who was an incredible threat before, just like nothing. And you're like, I love this. He died. Ha ha ha. And then he uses a magic sword to cut his head off, and the neck stump becomes a portal to hell. And his dead grandpa Ishin crawls out of his neck stump in his prime of his life when he was the strongest fighter who ever lived. And this motherfucker has 3 phases. You can tell in Sekiro because they have 3 little red dots that represent how many times you have to death blow them. And every boss has had a maximum of 2 until now. And fucking Ishin has 3. So you're like, holy shit. He starts out just hitting you with normal fucking sword attacks, except that when you get hit with one, half your health goes away, and if you don't parry them right, half your posture goes away, and you're like, this is the fucking strongest guy I've ever seen, holy shit. And it takes forever for you to figure out how to respond to his moves and when it's safe to attack him back. It's a really cool boss fight. It's very fair, very exciting. You have to be very careful, but it's manageable, so it feels very fulfilling when you figure it out. You give him the first of his 3 death blows, and then he pulls out of his ass an enormous spear that's like 10 feet long. And so now he has all of the same sword moves he has before, but also his range is way longer. And also now he can do crazy combos that chain together like 10 spear swings and sword swings in a fucking seamless combo with no openings, and you have to deflect them all. And also he has a gun now, so if you get too far away, he'll shoot you with a gun. And then you finally beat him in this phase. This is going to take you fucking forever. You're going to think that sword phase that you thought was so hard before, this is for babies. You finally are able to beat this phase. Phase 3 begins, and now this motherfucker shoots lightning at you. He just he calls lightning down from heaven and shoots it at you. It's a nightmare. Great boss. One of the best. When you finally fucking kill him, he's like, I'm so proud of you, Sekiro. This fight owned. Bye-bye. Back to hell with me.
So what I'm realizing as you say this, we love the boss phases not because the fact that the bosses are more involved or more complicated. It's that we like them because it's a way to get more guy per guy.
Yes, it's more guy per guy. It's because, because you go into a boss, and the contract that the game has made with you, the contract that gaming as a whole has made with you is like, a boss is one guy. Yeah? Okay, here's the guy. Yeah.
It's a singular noun.
And if the game is like, hey, I got a little treat. It's actually 2 guys. Like, there's actually 3 guys. Then, like, the ROI is incredible.
Yes. I mean, this isn't a boss, but like, what are stands? Stands are, you have a character, and then they also have a guy in them. There's 2 guys per guy.
Yeah, yes. Oh my god. Because stands could so easily just be superpowers, you know? Like fucking Sticky Fingers from part 5, the stand that puts zippers on things. You could just have it that Bruno puts zippers on things that he touches. Like, it would not change anything. But now there's 2 guys. Like, now Bruno is technically 2 guys. And, like, they can, like, drape themselves over each other. Like, one guy can be doing a sexy 2 guys pose without a second guy having to even be there. Like, what is... yes. So, like, what is even good about JoJo's? Like, what is it? Like, if you look at it rationally, it's not a story. Like, it's just not. It is a stock shonen story that's like, here are a series of fights. Okay, cool. And there's really not anything more to it narratively than that. So, like, the only thing that we're really getting uniquely from JoJo's that is making it a worthwhile experience as opposed to any other story that was using the standard shonen framework is
an incredible return on guys. Like,
yes!
The efficiency is crazy.
The quality of the guys is the top of the game. No one is making guys that look cooler or are weirder than these guys. And also, every guy is 2 guys.
Yes.
Like, riches.
Yeah, and there's also some showmanship in the reveal of the enemy's stand, aka the second guy, because yes. The way they're drawn sometimes is you see like the stand's arm and that's it. That's cool. And then when it's time for the big bad to have his cool, sexy robot stand next to him in full profile, they dangled something in front of you the whole fucking narrative, and now they're like, here it is.
Yeah, here's the guy. Here's the second guy. Joe, also, this is more guy per guy. Is this not the appeal of Pokemon really in its entirety? Like, I've never engaged with, like, the fucking RPG mechanics of Pokemon any further than, like, water puts out fire. I don't know. I don't give a shit about IVs or EVs or abilities or hidden abilities or whatever. I don't care about that.
Fire puts out water, and the other thing I always remember is fighting punches through hard stuff. So ice, rock, and steel. That's my pro tip.
Huh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, also birds kill rocks. Wait, I fucked that up. Also, rocks kill birds.
I also know that you can't punch a bird, so fighting is weak to bird.
Yeah, you can't do psychic moves on bugs because they ain't got no brain.
They got no soul. But yeah, like Pokemon, who cares? Like, I think it's been well established that, like, unless you are one of those weirdos who, like, gets into, like, the minutia and, like, breeds 100 fucking copies of each Pokemon, you pick the Pokemon that's going to be on your team based on, like, stat optimization, and you have to get the exact right IVs and EVs and, like, train them specifically and only fight certain Pokemon so that they level up in the right way.
Yeah,
like,
if you're doing that just to beat the story, it's made for 10-year-olds.
Yeah, like
I get it if you're doing it for the competitive stuff. That does not appeal to me, but you do not need to go that hard to beat the Final Four.
Yeah, exactly. Like the way that 99% of people in the world play Pokemon is water puts out fire, and that's all you need to win the game. So what is so appealing about it? What made that simple fucking baby's game one of the biggest media properties of all time? More guy per guy.
Yeah, evolutions. The reason everyone freaks out when they reveal the starters for every generation, it's because there's 3 guys crammed in there, in each of them.
Yeah, you're being shown one guy, but what you're really being shown is that there are 2 more guys that you could see if you buy the game.
They might as well just show you a cute turtle and just say, this has 2 stands.
Yes! More guy per guy, more guy per guy. Yeah.
Furthermore, this is why the legendary Pokemon aren't fun. They are one guy. They are exactly what you get. And why the single evolution Pokemon, even though they're very strong, some of them, like, I fully understand a Tauros or a Miltank can, like, wreck everything, but they're only going to be a cow.
They're never going to become, like, a fucking huge cow or, like, a cow that's shaped like a human man.
Yeah. There's no escalation. I never really played Digimon. I don't know if this applies because, like, we can agree that even if the Pokemon evolutions are not great, they, like, have a theme and they, like, deliver on it. My understanding of Digimon is that, like, a dinosaur can become like a buff lady. So I don't know if that counts as much because, like, I think part of the Pokemon appeal is that you have this through line through the guys.
Yeah. I don't feel like I have the leg to stand on to comment on Digimon because Digimon is very scary and confusing to me because I don't know like what it is like originally. Like did it start as an anime or did it start as a manga? Did it start as a game? Like I don't know what one's the base version.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The RPGs are very good. They are so good that like I played the PlayStation 1, I think, to completion, and I don't give a shit about Digimon. That's how crunchy and good it was.
Awesome. And the Pokemon thing about the more you have to have the only ones that are cool are the 3 evolution ones, and I agree with you there. And that's why it was so smart to introduce baby Pokemon because like Pikachu evolves once, and it's like that's not enough times. Like that. You should have more. And so they introduced Pichu. And like from a gaming, like a optimization perspective, Pichu is like useless trash. He's like Pikachu is already a suboptimal Pokemon, and this is a weaker version. Why would
the baby Pokemon are just like the lore at the bottom of a Magic card.
Exactly. And you want that. If there's a Magic card with no lore, I'm like, what the fuck? Where's my little story? But this is also why I hate like why when videos of like people playing at like the top level are often so I don't know. It doesn't have the heart that the game should because like when you watch pro fucking Pokemoners, you're never gonna see the little guys. It's always they hate that there's more guy per guy. It's like, why is there two suboptimal guys in my guy? I will simply always have the top guy. When like the whole point of the reason that the top guy is cool, the reason that Charizard is badass is because he started off as a little baby, then he became a weird teen, and now he's grown. And you saw that happen. And when it's just like, I will simply have it beat Charizard from the beginning, that's like, oh, that's lame. Similarly, that's like why I hate watching like footage of bosses on YouTube, even if it's a boss I think is badass, and I want to relive that experience and see the design of the boss again. It is exclusively someone who is like beating the boss as quickly as possible, taking no damage. So like what made the boss cool, which is like it's threatening and has cool moves and is hard to overcome, is just completely cut out because it just makes the boss look like a king bitch. It makes the boss look like an idiot.
Yeah, you lose the sense of threat. I'm looking at this document we have, and now based on this realization that look, we can reduce all video games down to cookie clicker, right? That's all they are.
Yeah. And every shonen anime or manga, you can be reduced down to like, I gotta fight.
And I think this is what makes Golden Kamui so good, is because, look, the premise is that there's a bunch of insane convicts that have a treasure map tattooed on their body, and you gotta kill them and skin them.
More fights.
It's more fights, but like that entire premise is just like this structure outputs guys.
Yes.
Like guys come out. And also they don't overstay their welcome because like, look, one of the convicts is a guy who's like, my goal is I'm going to fuck a bear. And they're like, oh shit. If he does that, the bear will for sure kill him and ruin his tattoo. And the thing is, all these guys end up dying, so you don't have to be like, they're going to have to hang out with the bear fucker. No, like the minute they're introduced, you know this guy is going to do something cool and then either get killed, or the other thing is like they'll be like, just let us make a copy of your tattoo and you can go away.
And like, even though there are no phases in Golden Kamui, like the guys are who they are and they have their little bit. Like, I think the more guy per guy philosophy isn't just limited to like phases and boss and like stands where there's two guys, or Pokemon Evolution there's 3 guys per guy. Like obviously that's the biggest, that's the best deal you can get on the more guy per guy. But like a format that exists specifically to shoot out guys, like you just mentioned with Golden Kamui, like is just as good. It is the same principle, the same animating principle as bosses with phases, and they're good for the same reason. Like fucking Kengan Ashura kicks ass because it's like, hey, you like guys who fight? And it's like, yeah, that's like, did I not just say that the backbone of all shonen storytelling is guys fight, more fight? Like, yeah. And it's like, okay, well, here's a tournament with 32 guys, and it's like, oh my god, the Kengan Association really is incredible. It's spitting out guys. Wow, this owns. And then Kengan Omega starts up, and it's like, hey, you know how the Kengan Association had a lot of guys? And it's like, yeah, I loved it. It's like, well, now there's like a second fighting association full of even weirder guys, and it's like, there's 2. Oh yeah. My god!
Like very early on in Omega, the premise is the association is going to have to fight this other organization, and like even before the details are finalized, you know, in your heart of hearts, like you see the StarCraft building that is building punching guys, and you know it's about to send a bunch of them your way.
It's the big Zerg tower that shoots them out. It's so good, dude. And like, this is okay. One Piece. I know I've said positive things about One Piece in the past, but I'm gonna do it again. One of the most jaw-dropping things, or like little anecdotes about One Piece, because there's a lot of guys in One Piece. We know that. But, like, there's a group of guys, the worst generation, the supernovas, that is just, it's all of the contemporaries of Luffy. So Luffy is one of them, but also included in this group is, like, every other pirate of his generation who's, like, started at a more or less the same time as Luffy started his pirate career, who have also gotten as strong and notorious as Luffy has.
They went through the same adventure machine.
Exactly. Like they took different branching paths on the roguelike, so they never met each other, but like they all have the same power level now. And this group becomes like so important to the like entire sweep of the rest of the plot. Fucking just people in this group become like main antagonists or co-protagonists of entire arcs, like 150 chapters. Fucking Trafalgar Law has been with the Straw Hats for something like 300 chapters now. He's basically a crewmate, except that he's the captain of his own separate crew. He just has been chilling with them constantly as like a co-protagonist. It's awesome. Meanwhile, all the other guys are having their own fights and shifting alliances and what have you, and they're like becoming like major players in the plot. And like they're not just side characters. Like they're part of the landscape, the entire political landscape that is the plot of One Piece. And here's the wild thing. Apparently, if this anecdote is true, what happened was Oda told his editor, like, here's what's going to happen in the next arc. This is the last arc before the time skip. Here's what's going to happen. And his editor was like, I don't know, man. That doesn't seem very interesting compared to what you've done before. Could you just introduce a ton of guys? And he's like, a ton of guys. I'll try. And he just came up with all of them. And, like, what? It just goes to show the power of just more guys. Like, that's really it. Like, all this shit that we like is baby brain basic shit for idiots. The only thing that's interesting or unique about any of them is the coat of paint on them. And the paint is guys. More, please.
Yeah. Bosses do this when they're good. A good shonen should make it quite clear that I'm going to output a bunch of freaks at you.
Yeah. This is one thing that makes fucking I really don't like about Naruto is that like the Akatsuki, like the villain group, like it takes way too long to defeat them. Like you see them all and you're like, some guys, and then like hundreds of chapters go by and like they fall pretty slowly, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, like can we get some new guys? Like I'm sick of this shark asshole.
So I think this is why I give so little shit about the worm in Kengan Omega, because the narrative is like, can you believe it that they are a different guy? And it's like, this whole thing is just guys, man. It's all guys.
It's like, wow, another faction. I'm like, unless this faction starts like outputting guys, I'm not gonna give a shit. And like, I know that technically, like the guys who've showed up who've been part of the worm are like worm guys, but like they were purgatory guys first. Like I'm counting it for them. They had the guy. You don't have any guys.
Yeah, I didn't really care about the worm reveals that often, but I loved when because all these guys have like the worm tattoo to signify them, and I was a sucker for the big reveal of the guy having it on his tongue. that was a cute trick.
God, what a good. You know what owns is like comics and games. Except also they suck. We've mentioned that pretty frequently on this show. What a life we live.
Yeah. I'm glad to live in this liminal space for the rest of my life where I indulge these interests while, of course, like, this shit sucks the whole time.
I think a good way to summarize the whole contradiction of this is if we look at one of the cruelest games of all time, Final Fantasy VI. We've spoken about this at length.
Cruel in the way that, like, it's just broken in parts.
Yeah. It's broken and mean to you. The final boss, Kefka, who is this clown asshole who's become imbued with the power of God.
You know, he basically does the scientist thing, but instead of injecting, like, experimental goop into himself, it's, like, magic.
Yeah, he just, like, the three gods of magic who invented magic all shoot all their power into him, and he's like, fuck. And so his final boss... It's got phases, buddy. It's got phases. And you don't actually start off fighting him. You fight, like, this huge flesh tower that you have to, like, defeat one by one and, like, climb up it. And it starts off with this, like, weird, gross, like, goopy metal man who is like his torso just like fuses with the ground, and out of his back is erupting like a million tentacles that are braiding up into the next part up above, and you're like, I wonder what those are gonna become. And he's got a scary face with devil horns, and he's spooky and shit. And then you'd beat him. You go up to the second phase. Oh my God, look at this. It is like a weird amalgamation of like Michelangelo guys, like nude men with beautiful bodies and flowing hair, all sort of like mushed together in this disgusting mass of flesh. And there's like a weird cat's mouth that's screaming at you, and a blue guy is sitting on it. And there's all these like flowing scarves and silks over it. And it's weird and sort of like semi-religious, but also creepy and weird. And of course, there is a big braid of weird tentacles stretching up above to the top of the screen. You beat this phase, you go up, and finally there's a reclining man looking up with a religious gaze. He is ringed by torches, and above him there is like a bust of the Virgin Mary with like a golden ornament behind her floating, and it's like, this is pretty intense, I gotta fight this. And finally you beat this final tier of this horrible pillar, and the entire time you've been fighting with the dark, completely black sky behind you. And when you finally get up to Kefka, the sun rises because he is the sun, and he's this enormous fucked angel. He looks like a Michelangelo angel, except his face is this creepy clown asshole. And
he looks like Ganon in a toga. I'm looking at it right now.
He looks badass. It's the coolest sprite that you'll ever see in a Super Nintendo game. Here's the thing, though. By this point in Final Fantasy VI, and it's not even hard to get to this point. Like, I was playing the game wrong. Like, I know I wasn't optimizing how I was playing and building out my party. By the time you get to this point in the game, when you fight this Kefka form, everyone in your party knows Ultima, the strongest spell in the game. And if you just have everyone cast Ultima every turn, you just, like, win instantly. You just don't, like, it's not a fight. And I think that says a lot.
Yeah. So this is a similar problem, I think, that Final Fantasy VII had, which is what makes summons cool? Well, they're a spell where guys show up, man. And the best summon in the game is Knights of the Round. And why is it so strong? Because it's 12 guys, man. You summon 12 guys, and they all, like, run up and kick whatever you're fighting in the nuts, and the animation is like an hour long, and it makes me think of like the final fight where you fight, Sephiroth. It's the same thing. He's a fucked up angel. They love that shit, but you don't even see him because most of the fight you're watching the 12 guys run around.
Fuck, dude.
One note about Kefka. I did not know he had a last name, canonically Italian, Kefka Palazzo.
Kefka Palazzo. Well, that makes sense. I won't elaborate on that. Anyway, that's I think everything for Anime Sickos for this week. More guy per guy. That's really the key.
Sun Tzu said this. He was like, he who has most guys will win. He was always talking about that shit.
If you are making some sort of narrative or game or what have you, and you have the ability to make each guy like 2 guys, do that. Otherwise, just have a lot of guys.
You can break new ground, I think, because write a detective story where the guy also transforms. That's 2 detectives.
Yeah, that show True Detective, they were so close. It should have been 2 detectives.
Yes. It should have been a guy and his stand.
Thanks for listening to Anime Sickos. Bye-bye. I've been Tom, an Anime Sicko.
I've been Joe, an Anime Sicko.
See you next time. Bye.
See you.
Thank you for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, a sicko. You can follow me on Twitter at TomHarrison19. Joe is also a sicko. You can follow him on Twitter at ShariaUncle. You can follow Anime Sickos on Twitter at Anime Sickos, or email us at animesickos@gmail.com. Please leave us a review or something. I don't know. Tell a friend. Anyway, until next time, bye.